And then we're just going to give it a couple of minutes while people trickle in. We're going to be speaking about like 45 minutes and then leave the remainder 10 to 15 minutes for QA if there's anything. If not, we can keep chatting it up until 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. But do you have any plans this weekend?
No, I got a lot of, I just got a lot of stuff to do around the house.
Whenever I hear something like that, I always think of the John Mulaney skit, if you're familiar with him, the stand-up comedian, how whenever someone past a certain age, like I feel like past the 20s or something, when you say, hey, do you have anything going on this weekend? We're always like, nothing at all. It's great.
We got a lot of we doing reconstruction here, so I have stuff in boxes, and I gotta move some stuff around, and I always got work to do. There's always stuff to do. I gotta plan. I'm going to New Jersey next week, and I'll be gone for a week. So it's, I gotta do
anything particular in New Jersey?
Yeah, my brother's kid is having a bar mitzvah, but it's going to be only a couple people in a backyard.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then on the other weekend, my wife's grandmother's unveiling. So when she passed during COVID, there was no funeral service.
Wow.
So that's in between. I'll see some friends and eat some food that I miss, and probably go into the city one day. My sister's in the city, so I'll get to New York City. I'm gonna go see a cover band that is my favorite. They're called The Nerds. They've been around for 30 years, and so I think I'm gonna drive and see them.
Do they cover any particular style of music or band?
Literally everything. I mean, 70s, 80s, 90s, today. They're a bunch of older guys. They dress up in dorky stuff and plaid, and they were on, I think MTV had a thing one time, and they were like the house band for like a battle of the bands. But yeah, they're great. I love them. I actually told them a long time ago that I was going to have them play my wedding, and I got let's send it to the host. I'll send this. And but they're so expensive. It was like 15 grand just to play a wedding, and I was like, no.
Oh my God! How many of them are there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Oh, okay, $15,000.
$15,000, but that, I don't even know if that included travel, because they're in New Jersey and we got married in Florida.
And that was going to be my next question. Like, did it include hotel or travel? And like,
I don't know. I mean, I would have gotten them a gig down here that they could have played, Friday night, maybe even Sunday. So who doesn't want a 3-day vacation in Florida? But I wasn't going to pay. I wasn't even going to, for a band. I preferred the DJ anyway, because it's, band. The Nerds are good, and they're fun. They're not like the greatest musicians and vocalists.
It's the experience.
Yeah. But we had headphone disco for the last 45 minutes. They have silent disco parties. Actually, Andy Frasco does. They do it outdoors in Denver.
Okay, silent disco is, I'm not even kidding, my favorite thing to do in the world. And
so good.
And I've always told people that I want to open up a silent disco brunch spot. However, I know nothing about hospitality or opening up a restaurant. So it's always been in the back of my mind.
Forget the brunch. You can throw silent disco events at a place. You just rent it out and tell them, we're going to do this. Maybe like a brewery out there, maybe even Fat Tire or whatever, New Belgium. That's a little bit further. But there's places there, restaurants that have, the space for it. Rent it out. You can get them. They're like $6 a headset. How much are they?
That's a fantastic idea. I always forget about the option to do like a pop-up versus having it permanent. And even using that as, you know, if you will, like the tester in the market. But anyways, let me introduce myself, VisualFizz, and then yourself, and then we can jump in. We could jump into it. I'm super excited to have this conversation on how you got to where you are and how you were able to build a brand in entertainment and sports. And I'm Sydney, for those who are on this growth series with us. I'm the marketing manager at VisualFizz. And if you're not familiar with who VisualFizz is, we are a full service digital marketing agency that works with growing organizations who are building their brand or giving themselves a brand refresh. And who for anyone who has not attended a growth series event before, we talk through growth, entrepreneurship, strategy, marketing, with all of our guests. And then in turn, they will share their experiences to how they got to where they are, how they built their brand, their personal and professional growth. And in the past, we've covered topics like luxury, mobile apps, content, marketing, building brands, and nonprofits. Today, we are joined by Matt Wolff, founder of Ticket Time Machine, not Marching like we've had. So I'm really excited about that. The last 15 minutes will be used for a Q&A from you all who are attending this. And if not, we're just going to keep talking through everything. So thanks for joining us, Matt. If you can you give us a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah, as Sydney said, I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. And Ticket Time Machine is a commemorative ticket company. We're keeping the printed memory alive. We call it tickets, but we have credentials, badges, lanyards, posters, magnets, stickers, anything that you can think of to help commemorate an event. We customize and personalize it. And it arrived from everything going digital. You guys are a digital agency, and digital's great, but people still want a physical memory. And we are going to help supply it and keep the printed memory alive. And also we'll be bridging the physical and the digital world, but that's really what we do at the core of Ticket Time Machine.
I love it. I am a huge collector of things like that, just like for memory's sake. I feel like even with, especially in events, I've been to so many. In fact, we have a couple of shadow boxes that holds all of our tickets. And it's just fantastic. I mean, it looks nice. And it's just like one of those things where I like to look at like, you know, if someone asks me a question, like, where did you see Lotus? I'm like, actually, I just looked at my ticket the other day. It was the Vic Theater in Chicago. So it's crazy the things that like spark a great nostalgic experience. So that's awesome. Where did the idea come from?
So the idea came from, I was at a Marlins game and I went because it was bobblehead day, which I generally go. I don't go to a ton of games, but so the timing was right, I guess. And Edinson Volquez threw a no-hitter. And I had a mobile ticket and I didn't even think about it actually, but over the loudspeaker, they said, if you want a printed ticket, come to the box office. So I go to the box office, not a huge line, but there were people there. And I said, this is great. Can you put Edinson Volquez no-hitter on the ticket? And they said, no, we can't. And I know that they can because I have a background in ticket printing. And so that's kind of where the idea came. Next weekend, I was at a concert. It was an amphitheater owned by Live Nation, and they are trying to move to everything mobile. They used to charge you a $5 reprint fee if you wanted to get a ticket. And when I had mobile, there were a few shows where I would pay $5 because I really wanted to have that physical ticket. And I went up to them and they said that they're really not doing that anymore. They'll do it for me this time, but they're going to start charging $20 for a ticket. And I'm like, well, I'm not paying $20 for your nothing ticket. But to me, that tells me that they just don't want to do it. They don't want you to buy $20 tickets. They want you to stop doing it. It's like raising the price to a point where no one's going to want it anymore. And so that's how Ticket Time Machine started. I was working full time elsewhere at the time, and got the idea and just got started working on it.
So I know you mentioned beforehand that you're in ticket printing. Is that what you were doing full time before you started your company?
No, I was in ticket printing for about 6 or 7 years. And then I left and I went into the world of anti-money laundering solutions. So I was doing sales for a company called LexisNexis, and that's where I was full time. Lucky enough to be able to kind of have Ticket Time Machine as my side hustle. And April of the end of 2019, I decided I have to go full time on this. I got to go all in. And I gave my notice that April 1 of 2020 would be my last day. So I gave about 3 months notice and had no idea the pandemic was coming, but got married on leap day of 2020, and went on my honeymoon, came back a couple weeks later, left my job, and it's been full steam ahead since.
Wow. I didn't realize how close everything happened. So 2020 was a huge year for you.
Yeah, 2020 was a great year for me. It was, I mean, it was so great personally, even and professionally, not financially, but professionally. And you kind of feel bad saying that sometimes, because there was so much devastation in the world, whether it was businesses or people losing their lives, or so, you know, I don't go around saying that often, but it really was a great year for me.
Well, I mean, yes, if we're comparing, it's never apples to apples, but I'm happy that you were able to take the experience and just keep, pushing forward. Do you think that you would have continued Ticket Time Machine if you didn't have a background in ticket printing? Or do you think that helped?
Well, I don't even know if I would have had the idea of it if I didn't have the background, because you don't think of it that way. And I know the industry very well, so I understand how you would actually have to do it and what it would entail. So I don't know that I would have the idea. It's a good question, but it's hard to answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's definitely changed like your perspective, because I guess I take that for granted when I go to events. Like, I love getting like a hard copy of anything, period. But if I don't, it's never like, I didn't think of it as like, oh, they're moving towards that life or whatever. But I'm happy that you're bringing it back, because it really is like having the tangibles are very important. Did you collect? I'm assuming you collected tickets and souvenirs as you're growing up.
I call it collecting. My wife calls it hoarding. I collect everything from all the events and the games and the vacations I've done. We moved into a fairly big house that somehow isn't big enough for all my stuff. I got to figure out what to put out and what not to. But I collect everything. Some of the stubs I have, and just brochures, and really anything that people give away to remember the event. And there's a lot of times when there really wasn't anything worthy of collecting, but I would be like, I need something from this event. So I have some really weird stuff. I wish I collected tickets. I mean, I always kept the tickets, but moving around, I lost a bunch of them. I wish I would have kept a better collection of my tickets back, from as long as I was going to concerts, which is really, it started in college. So you're talking about 20 plus years of shows, and I go to a lot of shows. I think some might be in boxes, but funny enough, I have a great collection of trading cards, like basketball and baseball, and that I have all of them. I never lost any of those. They were all, I knew exactly where they were. And the tickets would be like you'd be moving something, and all of a sudden you find a ticket. So I do collect tickets. I still do. I try and get a printed ticket whenever I can. Obviously, that's become more difficult, but hopefully in the near future we'll have something to at least commemorate.
What's your favorite collectible to date?
My favorite collectible?
Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, are you talking about a ticket or just anything in general?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I don't even know. I have a signed baseball from Tim Tebow and Pete Alonso, which was a minor league game. I have my dad gave me signed baseballs from like the 1940s, and it's got, I have Jackie Robinson autograph. I guess it's like I have an autograph from Gator team, but stuff from my the Gators championship events, bobbleheads. I don't. If I had to keep one, it's got to be the baseballs that my dad gave me. But it would be
That's
tough.
awesome.
I got a lot of stuff that I think are pretty cool and just, unique and different.
I need a video of all of your
Yeah.
things. Like you're really painting a picture here. But as you were building Ticket Time Machine, like evolving it from idea to a physical company, how did you make that happen? Like from it just being a side hustle to something greater?
So the process from idea to actually starting it was fairly simple. You just have to kind of do it. You go and you incorporate, right? You got to find someone to, you got to think of a name. You got to create a logo like we did, which I love my logo. It's one of the, I just love it. It's just, to me, it's so cool. And there's some hidden messages in there. I don't know if you could find them, but it's kind of like, remember the FedEx logo, one of those things. And from there, I just, I did a lot of research. That's really what it was, a lot of research. And it was kind of tough because, you understand how active I am on LinkedIn. But when I started this company, my LinkedIn was 100% LexisNexis. And I had about 600 contacts, and 500 of them were in the financial world. So that day, April 1 of 2020, when I was my last day, I switched my whole entire LinkedIn to start, adding people and change it that I have Ticket Time Machine. A lot of it's really on the job training. I mean, I'm a one-man show here, and it's just trying to learn as I go. And you make some mistakes. It was a lot easier I'll tell you, it was a lot easier to go from working full-time at Lexus to full-time at Ticket Time Machine than it was to try and navigate the beginning of it. And you're kind of getting in your stride here now, where it's, you feel comfortable about the day-to-day activities.
Yeah. And also I can imagine that it was probably challenging to focus on both LexisNexis and Ticket Time Machine at the same time, trying to give both of them, your all, when in reality, like it's really hard to do two things at once, really.
Not as hard as you would think, but I gave more attention to my budding company than I did to my old company. I'd given them a number of good years, and in sales, I wasn't compensated. I wasn't incentivized properly, so it made it a little bit easier to make that transition.
I get that then. So, just based off your experience, what are some skills that you have developed that helped you on your entrepreneurial path?
Well, we always talk about networking, and I love to network. I love to help people. But for me, my organizational skills and my, I think I have people skills. I definitely ruffle some feathers here and there, but I think that most people who know me know it's all coming from a good place. So, to me, organization, follow up, and being authentic are the biggest things. I will reply to your email before you even hit send, getting it to me. I think I'm a very big believer in getting back to someone quickly, even if you don't have the answer, because, and I don't have any studies behind this, but the longer you take to reply, the less chance you are of going to reply.
Yeah.
That's people who even want to reply. Forget about the people who don't want to reply.
I can agree with you there. Like I've kept so many emails in my inbox on unread, or I'll read it and then I'll mark unread so that I could get back to it. And then I just get used to it being unread in my inbox. So I just from personal experience, I definitely can attest to what you just said.
So what,
And
well, before you move on, the organization skills that I have, I essentially operate with a clean inbox.
I used to be like you.
Every week, every week, and I leave some stuff in there just, but it's stuff I know. I'm at less than 10 emails in there every week.
Good for you. I try to keep it around 20, but mainly the ones that I keep are articles that I really, really want to read and I don't want to forget about them. And
I have
then
tabs. I use tabs. I have a
yeah.
ton of tabs. And then I actually have a folder called things to do, but I put a 1 in front of it. So it's literally at the top of the folders. So if you have an article you want to read, just create a folder, put it in there. I think you'll find it easier to operate. Like folders in your email, it's everything.
Yeah, I have to probably move to that method because it really does take a toll, like to seeing that my inbox is not completely empty, you know what I mean? Because like I look at it, I'm like, oh, I have to get to it. I have to get to it. So I have to try yours. There's definitely a method there. But I think like too, I think having a background in sales helps because I mean, I've done various sales roles too before, and I think it gives us that extra skill, soft skill in being empathetic. Like when people are reaching out to respond because we've been on the other side being like ignored or pushed off, you know what I mean?
I reply to
So
every single email and message I get. I reply to even the spammers. I connected with a guy today, and I was thinking to myself, he didn't write me anything. I know what he's doing. He's like a financial planner. Do I want to accept him? You know what? Let me accept this guy. I never know. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who he knows. I hit accept. Within 10 seconds, I get an email. When are you available for a call? I said, look, I get hit up by a lot of things. My schedule's real hectic. I'm always happy to have a call, but I just don't think right now is a good time. You know, it wouldn't be a good use of your time or my time, but I'm happy to help any way I can. But I think it's interesting you say that because I think I've always been that way. It's just the way I was brought up. It's who I am, and it took me a while to get into sales. But I do think that there's something about being in sales that makes me want to reply because I hate when people don't reply to me. But that said, I have a lot of people who I'm reaching out to who are in sales who don't reply. So I don't know. I guess it's more personality, but I'm sure the sales aspect has something to do with it.
yeah, yeah. Um, it would be nice if everyone had that same mindset because you never know too, like maybe it's something that is not going to work now, but you never know where that person is going to be, you know, next year or 5 years or so or whatever. They can completely change what they're doing, just like you have, you know, maybe they're building something on the side too until they transition.
We'd
But
be, speaking of growth, if everyone replied to all messages and emails and phone calls, I'd be, I'd have to hire a ton of people. We'd be doing exactly what I planned to be doing, and we'd be well on our way to where we need to go. And in some ways, it's funny because I don't know if I could even handle that if everyone was doing it, right? Because I'm reaching out to a ton of people, especially when you're not hearing from them. So if they all started to get back to me, it'd be a real challenge. I'd have to start hiring some people, which would be a good problem to have. It's like, promise, go do what you need to and then figure out how to do it. And I think anyone who runs a business for the most part is going to do that. It's a good problem to have.
yeah. So speaking of that though, like I know you mentioned earlier that come April 2021, when you knew you're going full time with Ticket Time Machine, I love that you mentioned that you recognized that how you appeared online was a completely different industry, because you're in such a different industry, and you then wanted to reposition yourself into, what your brand was going to be. How did you do that? Like, did you start off connecting? How was that?
Connect. I never really used LinkedIn that much. I connected with some people just because I wanted to connect, and I thought, as a salesperson, it's actually just another touch point. You could have another way to either find their information or reach out to them. And so I had about 500 or 600 connections, and I didn't feel like there was any business that I did there, but it was just good. I liked it. But I did understand that it's easy to connect people and find people. So for me, I had it already planned that I was going to attack LinkedIn that day and go nuts with it. And I quickly got, a lot of connections. Like, just started reaching out. Some people I would write messages to, some I wouldn't. A lot of people would accept it. And then I changed my profile to make it say Ticket Time Machine, and talk about it, and started targeting companies and industries and titles. And it grew fast. I mean, I didn't track the trajectory of it, but and then I started putting content out there, daily. I don't even remember when I started that. It must have been sometime in 2020, but LinkedIn at that point in time was ridiculously good. Everyone was on it. They were using it. Everyone was responding. People didn't want to seem like they weren't being helpful when everyone else is being helpful, and they had more time to be helpful. So, I think the window's closing a little bit now, but LinkedIn, I think, is still going to be a great resource online. I think in some ways, it's the best social media for me, especially with regards to networking and building, networking and building the company go hand in hand, because these are the people I want to talk about either, helping out my company. I've found graphic artists on LinkedIn, people to come on my show from LinkedIn. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn all day, every day, and combing it.
I am there with you. LinkedIn is 100% my favorite channel, social media platform thus far. I've always been like a huge advocate. I actually, speaking of, people being on LinkedIn, right before the pandemic, I started a podcast, and I did so because I couldn't find the people that I wanted to connect with on LinkedIn. So I wanted to have conversations with those that I did find, and then put a platform to it so that I could help others who couldn't find those same people. But now I think the game has completely changed. To your point, so many people flock to LinkedIn, create profiles they never had before, was available and accessible and open to having conversations. And so I think 2020 was a huge year for those who didn't have digital presence to create one. And it's been so awesome. And my next point too, as you mentioned with your show and creating content, that's like, in my opinion, the best way to network, even if it's indirectly, because you're presenting something and they see a little piece of what you do without cold outreach.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot from the guests that I have. There's really some great stories out there, and I love getting people who other people know, but I also love sharing stories of people that you've never heard of, who have such great stories. They're inspirational, they're motivational, they're heartwarming, and there's just such a good community of people. Not everyone. There's people on there who are not authentic, and they're on social media for the wrong reasons. They're worried about their I don't know how many followers I have. Not a lot. I have almost 6,000 connections, and the reason why I like LinkedIn is because for the most part, it's the best way to have a two-way relationship.
Yes.
I'm not a huge fan. Instagram, I post every day. Twitter, same. But in Instagram, there's very little interaction. It's not a good platform for interaction. Twitter, there is good platform for interaction, but people don't. You got a couple of the same people with the blue check marks. They don't interact. The blue check marks on LinkedIn, they're kind of have their own little thing where they talk to each other, and they'll, post and run, not, post all this stuff and not reply.
Yeah.
And I don't like to reward. I don't like people being rewarded for bad behavior. So I've made it my point to kind of call them out, or I guess bring to light the hypocrisy or the phoniness of it. And yeah, some people like it, some people don't. It's who I am.
I mean, I'm there with you again. Like, why have a profile, or like if you're not going to use it to create authentic connections? Like, I don't like to follow people that I actually don't want to connect with, you know what I mean, on any platform. And yeah, I think that some people, to your point, like maybe just want to talk about things and not interact. But if you think about in a real world situation, it's so awkward if someone's talking about themselves and the other person's just sitting there, or on the opposite side, you wouldn't be like, hi, how are you? And then leave. Like, you'd stay and have a conversation.
Well,
It's a follow-up.
Think about this also. If you're going to give people the ability to message you, then you should write them back, because I think you could turn it off. I think if you don't want anyone to be able to message you, then you could turn them off. And the same thing with connecting. Like, if you only want to connect with people who know you, put that thing where they need your email, but it just seems weird to me. I'd like to know, I'd love to have a conversation, which will never happen. I'd love to have a conversation to understand why you didn't accept my invite. Like, we have 175 mutual connections. Like, why wouldn't you accept we went to the same school. Why wouldn't you accept my invite? And then why didn't you write me back?
Yeah.
And I called someone the other day. He's like, look, I said, yeah, I reached out. And he thought I meant email. And he's like, oh, if you meant LinkedIn, I haven't been on there in months. And then he went there and accepted my thing. So some people aren't on there. I think they should be more often, but I don't know. I'd love to know that stuff. It's something that really is a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
And I'll never accept it. I'll always take it personally. I understand that's how it is. And it's probably because one thing about me that I really like about myself, and I have plenty of things that I don't like about. We can talk about that if you want, but I operate with the golden rule, and I don't expect anything from others that I don't give in return myself. So for me, I don't understand when people don't act in the way that I do, and I think most of that stuff is just the way I was brought up.
Mm. Yeah. And I think in this digital world, it's so easy for people to keep going and moving on and ignoring, because they're not being held accountable, because it's not face to face, and it's unfortunate. But hopefully with like the newer social platforms, I still love LinkedIn, but I feel like the newer social platforms are really, really encouraging others to engage and reward those that are very active, not only with content, but like engaging with those that are engaging with their content. So hopefully things are changing, but I totally get you there. How has LinkedIn affected, like, how is LinkedIn as a platform, or your activity on LinkedIn affected your business?
Oh, I mean, I'm having great conversations with people, high level people, real quality people that are connected to events, and that I think eventually I hope to turn into business. But no, there's a cycle. It takes time, and events. Let's say there's a festival next month, and I meet up with them. Timing is everything. So I can connect with them today. Their festival's in 2 months. They're right in the weeds of it. They can't talk. Oh, get with me after the festival, and try and stay engaged with them. I send personal holiday messages out to people. Nothing I do is automated. I don't do anything automated. I must have sent out 250 Happy Memorial Day emails, and then I posted it too. But just personal emails, because I think it's all about people and relationships. I
got one.
Yeah, I don't expect to. I don't expect you to do business with me because you like me and because of what I do and because you like me as a person, but I do expect a seat at the table because of that. And so it's very important to me. It's gotten me to meet tons of people, you know, the Wolff Den, and even just the content. I think I get, you know, once in a while, and I don't get a ton of engagement on anything I do really, but it's the ones that you do get that, you know, they mean a lot to you. And you're just like, okay, I think what I'm doing is working for some people, and you know, it makes you want to do more and keep it going.
Yeah. Why did you decide to start the Wolff Den? And also for those who are not familiar with it, can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, the Wolff Den, I guess you can call it a podcast. I think of it more like a talk show. It goes live on LinkedIn and Facebook, and we bring on people I really talk about anything. I love to talk about sports and entertainment, music, movies, but I also talk about equality and mental health and, you know, anything really that people are passionate about. We bring people on to talk about their foundation, books that they've written, anything. Yeah, I mean, I haven't told someone no who I've wanted to talk to. And so I started out, I just saw people, I wanted to do LinkedIn Live, and I applied for it, and I saw people doing LinkedIn Live, and I'm just like, I don't want to do it similar to Facebook Live where I just get on and talk. It's very, first of all, it's very hard to do. I don't know if you've tried it, and I'll tell you why I know it's hard to do. But then my friend was doing a show. He had a show, Free Agent Fridays, Andrew Haynes, and he did it on StreamYard. I'm like, you know what? I think this would be pretty good. Let me start and bring some people on, and I'll bring guests on. And so I did that. I started as once a week. And then I started, you know, as you ask people and they don't reply, and then everyone replies at once, you'll be like, all right, you know what? I'll do it twice a week. Next thing you know, I'm doing it 4 or 5 days a week. And because I don't want to talk to someone and say, yeah, I'd love to have you on my show. Let me look and see when I'm available. And it's like 6 months from now. Yeah. I did my 85th episode today, and I started not that long ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm approaching my 100th episode. And, you know, I've had people, the thing is with StreamYard, you number them and you want to keep that going. So I can set a podcast, a show with you and just send you an invite. But when I actually put it on StreamYard, I number it and it's in there. It's kind of hard to delete. So if someone cancels on me, I kind of just go live. So I've had maybe 2 or 3 shows where I just had to go on live and I'd talk for a few minutes about maybe what happened on the weekend and what's going on in the sports world. But it's very difficult to just talk about with no agenda, because everything I do is unscripted, no agenda, and just get on there and talk. And so that's why I like to have the guests on, because I think the guests are what make the show. I mean, I think I do well conversing with them, but you know, if I don't have an exciting guest or a good story, or it's not going to be a good show. And you know, so that's what I aim to do. My friends Michael and Rick, they have a show called The Fan Experience, and they do sports talk for a few, and then bring on a guest. I'd love to have something like that. That would probably involve a co-host. I don't know. Maybe I'll find a co-host who wants to talk sports and entertainment for a little bit, and then bring a guest on. I'd love to have it like that, because I love talking about stuff like that. And I try and go on their shows to talk about sports and entertainment and movies and music and mental health, because generally speaking, I don't really want to talk about Ticket Time Machine as much. Certainly a little bit, and I'm happy to do it, but I like to talk about all that other stuff and just, you know, just kind of talk shop.
Yeah, and I think you're doing that right, because I mean, think about it, like if they're invested in you, if they like you, they'll do their part to research you, or you know, click the link and get more information. So I'm a huge believer in that as well. I mean, you could push your brand, you know, whatever you're selling, just in general, even like, you know, with my own show, like I can push all I want, but if people don't feel invested in you and what you're doing, like it's not going to be a long-term relationship.
No, and they need to, you know, some of my shows will only do as good as the person I'm on there sharing, because it's a different audience. I've reached out to some really well-known people, and some of the replies I get are, we're not doing interviews, we don't do anything unpaid. And my response is, look, I have a great network of executives and athletes and Olympians and CEOs of sports and entertainment and in the equality. I don't care who you are. I have people in my network who've never heard of you. And so if you want a new audience, I think it's a great opportunity for you to come on and talk about what you're working on, talk about what you're passionate about, and get some new fans. Because I think that's how, we keep talking, getting back to growth. I mean, you might have a lot of people watching your show, but it's the same people and they're doing it. I don't know. Are you talking to the right people? Maybe not. That's the thing I say in networking all the time is, I'm talking to the right people, but I'm not talking to the right person. And, I think with influencers and followers, that's a big problem. You can have a huge amount of followers, but who are they? Is it relevant to anything you're doing? Are they going to help you? So that's one of the things that I think is important to me when I'm trying to continue to do the show. And as long as people still want to come on, I'll continue to do it. Maybe it won't be every day as things get busy and I have events and there's more travel, because everything I do, I like to do it at a computer. It's going to test me when I'm in New Jersey because I have to do it on my phone. But we'll see what happens.
Good luck. Let me know how that goes, because I don't think I can do that. Like, I think I would need a computer in that instant. One thing that I'm curious about is, like, once people maybe are not as susceptible to hopefully the virtual world stays, but I've never hosted someone in person, not for this growth series, not for my podcast. So it's going to be really interesting once that starts up again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a studio. I'm in my office. There's no real room for me to have anyone else sitting here. I think the show lends itself to being video and not in person. And I think that's not a bad way to do it. It's interesting because I watch some late night talk shows, and you see they have people who come in and sit on the couch now, but they still do some video, which I think, I don't know. For that, if you can be in person, great. But if you can get a guest who can't come in person, but you can still have that conversation with them, why not? Is there really that much value? The only thing maybe is if you have people in the audience who want to see that person. That's what I can see. But I think this type of conversation is just as valuable as if I was sitting right next to you.
I agree. And it's so efficient too. Like, you don't have to really plan travel or anything around it. So going back to your business, even thinking as events are coming back, and as you've just mentioned, has your business been evolving since you started it because of that?
Yeah, we're having more conversations. It's getting to the point where people are ready to have the conversations. It's still a little uncertain about events, and they're all like bunched together. And so I think you'll see us start to grow more next year, but there's plenty of opportunity between now and the end of the year to do some stuff. And we're going into we're trying some new stuff. We did I want to give a shout out to my boy Keegan Brown. He's a 14-year-old who's trying to be a professional moto racer. And so we did a little collectible trading card for him. And we're trying to generate some donations. So if you donate $25 or more, you get a signed trading card from Keegan. But so we're looking to do a lot of different things, trading cards and badges and lanyards. We have a product that has a sticker that comes off that could be used for couponing or offers. So, I think it's going to start up. But again, it's just about getting to the right person and getting someone to reply to you. That's been the most difficult thing. And even people who are interested not replying. I mean, I've had conversations and then I don't hear from them. And then 6 months later, we have another great conversation and then I don't hear from them. Or someone says, I could write a book about the type of interactions I had with people who, and I don't consider it that they're not interested. That's what he said. I don't take silence as a no. I don't take ghosting me as that you're not interested. I think people do get busy. They do forget. They do prioritize. And then some people just are terrible about keeping up with stuff. And some people don't care. I wouldn't want someone to keep emailing me and calling me. So I would get back to them. After a while, I'd understand this person's not going to stop reaching out to me, but everyone's different.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, just taking it back a step, if you can send the link over for the who you're raising money for, that I could include it in the recap, because that is incredible. And that also brings me to my next point, that's actually a fantastic idea. I feel like everyone would like to be made into a trading card. And on top of that, like partnering with nonprofits, or any organization, that's a awesome idea. That's like a whole new ball game.
Yeah, the thing with us is we have to, you have to print volume. So I can't just print someone an individual one. So we printed a couple hundred for Keegan. But we are getting into the trading card world. We have augmented reality and gamification experiences on the way. And so we will be getting into the trading card space. It's just a matter of getting the partnerships with the people who own the licensing and the content, because I don't have permission to do any of that. And so I think we're gonna try and turn it on its side. It's and a real collectible, not something that someone's gonna want to buy because they think they're gonna go turn around and sell it for 10 times over. That's not what I aim to do. Now, if that happens, fine, but that's not really what I aim to do. And the reason I thought about that, and I think it could be great for a lot, like you said, a lot of nonprofits and organizations, is when I donate, I don't like to just give people money. I like to have something in return. And I know that sounds a little selfish, but it's just like, it makes it feel like I'll buy a shirt where the proceeds go to something else, or a poster for me. And this isn't a huge thing, but it's, you feel like you get something, and it's not just someone asking for money. They put some thought and effort into giving you some value for, the money that you're giving up, because you don't know where that's going. And so I understand it doesn't sound that great, but I generally will give to people. I like to help people who need it where I can, but also give, buy something that is going to go towards a charity. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And it like, again, it solidifies that interaction, and it just brings like more of a, I guess, mutual thing to it, if you know what I mean. Like, it feels more like a partnership versus like one-sided, although it is charity. But I totally get what you mean. And it's also very memorable too. Like, you get to keep that.
This kid's 14 years old. He's got a trading card right now. Want to know why? Someone shared his post on LinkedIn, and I can't remember who it was. If I went back, I'd be able to tell you. But he's 14. He's on LinkedIn. He's on Instagram. Him and his dad do it, but he's on there, and he's going on shows. He had him on my show. We put him on the Fan Experience show. 14 years old. I mean, wow. He was, when I met him, he literally wasn't old enough to race. He had to wait until his birthday, which actually, coincidentally, his birthday is the same day as my birthday. We're born on the same day, many years, 30 some years apart, but born on the same day. And I'm just amazed at the work that he's doing, because, it's incredible. When I was 14, forget it. Are you kidding me? When I was in college, I didn't even think about that. I was on Clubhouse a month or so ago. There was a 14-year-old who's like in the real estate. I don't know what he was doing. He's like refurbishing computer stuff and trying to flip real estate. Obviously, he can't buy it, but he's working. 14 years old. He's on Clubhouse. There's another guy I'm connected with, a teenager. He's building lacrosse sticks and selling them. It's unbelievable to me. And, think about how competitive it is. And these guys are well on their way to get whatever he does, he's going to figure it out. I think it's going to be racing, but man, he's 14 years old. And he's really good at marketing, understanding the value of social media. And so I just want to do everything I can to help him.
Yeah, it doesn't that just blow your mind? I'm in the same boat as you where I didn't think about any of that, even in college as well. I actually have a I mentor this girl. I met her when she was 17 and now she's 18, and she is just like the smartest person I've ever met. It's crazy to think that she's 18 and that we have like, so many years apart, because it's like speaking to someone that's my age. And when she found out how old I was, she was like, what? How do you know TikTok? I'm like, okay. I'm like, everyone knows TikTok.
Oh, look, we got the funny thing about TikTok. Val Whiting is going to be on the Wolf Den tomorrow. She has like 110,000 TikTok followers. She's older than I am. I mean, she's going to help young people to do it. It's not like, any of this stuff is just for younger people. It's funny. Back in the day, I was talking to this girl, and there was quite a bit of an age difference. And she was telling me about Facebook, and I'm like, oh, cool, maybe I'll join. And she's like, why would you want to join? You're not in college. This is a long, long time ago. And I'm just like thinking, whoever started to join who wasn't in college is genius, right?
Mhm.
And, I have a TikTok page. I don't do anything with it. I have one funny video on there, which I encourage everyone to look at because it's hilarious. But, I have interns who I say, take my TikTok and run with it. And no one's done it. So, there's so many great resources and so many things to do. I think it's easier for younger people to get involved, even the older people in college with internship. When I was in college and when I was growing up, there was none of that available. Internship, yes, but the type of social media and building your own business. My mom was a big believer in having your own business. And so we did so many different things as kids. It's for a whole nother show, the type of stuff that she made us go through. But it gave us a good lesson. And we were 14, 15 years old we didn't really have our own business, but we were doing things here and there to make a few extra bucks.
Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like you were raised to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, my mom had her own business. My father, he was a headhunter, worked with the big six accounting firms, and then went into his own business for his own practice, and it was on his own. And so, I always thought I wanted to do something for myself. There's many reasons why: the flexibility, the earning potential. But I never had I take it back. I was going to say I never had the idea. I had a lot of ideas along the way, and I was lazy about it. I wasn't motivated. The first time I hit that roadblock, I kind of just said, you know what, this isn't going to work. And, now if I would have done what I'm doing now 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at, because I don't know that I had the mindset or the want or the ability to do that. But I do wish I would have had what I have now for some of those ideas in the past that, that stopped me. And we have some other stuff that we're doing here at Ticket Time Machine that, I'm going full steam ahead, like other events and other companies that I'm building. We hit a couple roadblocks there. I'm going to fight through it. So some exciting things coming probably next year.
Okay.
But it's, they'll have tie-ins to Ticket Time Machine, but they'll be separate.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely have to look out for that. Are there any tips for those who are taking a similar path to you?
Well, the first tip is just do it. I mean, I just ask whether you're talking about, it's funny, the Al Davis phrase from the Raiders, for football fans, it was like, just do it. And actually it was just win, baby. And then just do it is Nike. But yeah, just do it. It's very, someone's told me when I emailed about like my 80th show, he's like, and I don't know if it's true or not, so people can fact check it. Something like 70+% of people who do podcasts, who have done a podcast, have done less than 3 episodes. So they kind of do it and then they just stop. The hardest part is just starting, whether that's a company, a podcast, as a diet, exercise, anything like that. So it's that's the biggest advice I can give is just do it. Ask for help, give help when you can, be authentic, and surround yourself with good people and smart people. And I think, everything else kind of, if you put the work in, I think all of it will come together for you. But starting is really the hardest thing. And
It is, yeah.
because people start and they stop, they don't want to start, they give themselves all kinds of excuses as why I shouldn't. So that's really the best advice I would give. We do a learning LinkedIn series where we started out by giving people tips on LinkedIn and job search. I'll give you that link also. But the first couple of episodes, we had panelists on, and we had slides that we did that kind of help you navigate through LinkedIn. But I think it could be good advice for anyone who's looking to start a company or look for work or network better, have a better presence on social media. So I think that helps. There's some real helpful hints and tips on there. And then I've met some really great people who are smart and wanting to help. And so I have a nice circle that it's been great. I think that's a good thing, right? Be careful who you trust and who you put your trust in, who you bring into your circle. But if you find the right ones, and that's true in every part of, whether it's a business, whether it's social media, personal, your friends, your sometimes even family. I mean, there's plenty of people who have toxic families, and it's not good.
That's a great closing thought. Because yeah, I mean, it's like now more than ever, we have control over who we surround ourselves with. So definitely take advantage of that, because again, like, you definitely want to be positive and productive for everyone. So thanks for that. Thank you, Matt, for being on this event within our growth series. Love talking about networking and your journey. Again, this event will be saved on our website and on our YouTube channel. And for everyone that will be watching us at a later time, stay tuned for our next event, July 1st. And after this event, we will be sending a survey to those who attended. Please give us any recommendations on topics or guests. Again, I'm Sydney, and thank you for joining us, Matt, and everyone.
Thanks a lot.
It was great. Yeah, I will definitely shoot you an email with everything after this.
Perfect. I'll send you some stuff if you put it in. That would be great, and I appreciate the opportunity here. Spread it out a little bit. You're starting your podcast again too, right?
Yeah. Actually, this Wednesday was the second episode of the third season, so it's technically the 42nd episode.
Who are you looking for on there? It was the people in the music world who are
in marketing. Yeah, we're focusing on marketing this season, like literally everything you can think of. And yeah, it's exciting because that's my background. So I finally get to speak a little bit more to it.
I probably have some people who might be good guests for you. So I'll send you some people. Marketing that's been such a huge thing in music too. It's so important.
Yes.
Sometimes that's the difference between someone who makes it and someone who doesn't.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because, like, while I'm in marketing, it's like it's the same but different in so many ways. And it's just because when you're looking at the product or the brand, it's a human being. And so it's just so interesting to have the conversations, and like what they've had to do and go through.
How many episodes how do you consider a season?
1 second, let me